Hey everyone, Tendra here. So I have about 44 characters in this game. Of them 44, 20 of them are level 70. The rest are level 60 plus. And if you're like me and you have a lot of characters, finding time to level them can always be a pain. So what I normally do is when time walking rolls around, I'll pick a character or two, and I'll make sure I level them. I'll pick a couple others, and I'll run them up to 64, 65. And that way when the next time walking rolls around, I'll have a few more characters within striking range of level 70. But right now we have the Winds of Sanctuary buff going, and we have the Midsummer Fire Festival going. So I've been putting 2 or 3 hours into a character, hitting all the bonfires. And if I start out at level 60, I get to about 66. And if I start at 65, I get to about 69. So I can get anywhere from 4 to 6 levels on a character doing this. It seems to work pretty well, and when time walking rolls around, it should make it that much easier to finish these characters off. The real nice thing about doing the bonfires is at any point in time you can just walk away from them and just come back and finish them up at a later time. I'm not stuck like I am in a dungeon, making sure I get it done before I have to AFK or want to AFK, so it's got some big pluses. I've probably run 5 characters through the bonfires already, so when time walking does come around, they'll be that much easier to get to level 70. But besides doing that, I did make it into my normal weekly farms, so let's take a look at them and see how I did. The first item on my farm list this week was the Tusks of Mannoroth. They drop in the Siege of Orgrimmar. We only have 2 more weeks until we get a skip so we can go right to Garage. It's going to make farming these shoulders so much more convenient. But anyways, I headed over there. I worked my way back to Garage. I took him out, got my attempt in on the shoulders, and again this week I didn't see him drop, so I'll be back here next week. My next farm was the Scythe of the Unmaker. This is farmed up in the Legion raid and Taurus the Burning Throne. I'm doing it on Mythic because I need the red version. I already have the blue version out of Heroic, so I made my way over there, worked my way back to the back, took out Argus the Unmaker to get another attempt on this polearm, and I didn't see it drop this week either. So I'll be back here next week and see if my luck's a little better then. My next farm is my first mount farm. The mount I'm after is the Hellfire Infernal. I'm after the red version. I already have the yellow version out of Heroic, so this is the mythic version. So I headed in, worked my way back to Gul'dan, and got attempt number 55 on this mount. Again, I didn't see it drop this week, so I will be back here next week. This left me just one more raid that I'm currently working on, and that is Uldir. Out of there, I'm farming the head of Mimiron. So like always, I made my way up there, and on the way up there, I checked for the time lost proto-drake like I do every week. I didn't see him. Once I got there, I worked my way back to Yogg-Saron, took him down, and got attempt number 50 on the mount. I didn't see it drop again this week, but I'm in the range where it should be dropping, so I'll just come back here next week and see if my luck's a little better. So without any of my raids producing items this week, I started my 5-man mythics. First up was the Underrot. Out of here I'm farming the Underrot Crawg. So I headed in, worked my way back, took out the end boss, and got attempt number 20 on the mount. Again, I didn't see this one drop, so I'll be back here next week. Hopefully my luck's better then. My next farm is another mount farm. It's Marrowfang. This is a mount that drops out of the Necrotic Wake. It's a 2-headed Shamir that has skulls for heads. So I made my way over to the Necrotic Wake. This one's a little time consuming, but once you're at the last boss it's pretty quick. So I engaged him, I took him out, and lo and behold, the mount actually dropped. Which is kinda crazy since I'm only on 6 attempts on this guy. I guess random is random. Anyways, this is what the mount looks like if you wanted to take a peek at it, in case you decide you want to farm one up for yourself. So all I had left to do now was my final 5-man mythic, and that's King's Rest. This one I'm doing as a multi-character farm. That means I take 13 characters through and target the mount. So let's take a look at them and see how I did.
You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zul is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master, you have broken Zul's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zul is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master gathers power. You have broken Zul's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zul is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, you have broken Zul's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zul is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, you have broken Zul's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zul is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master. broken Zoo's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. You have broken Zoo's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, you have broken Zoo's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master gathers power. You have broken Zool's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. You have broken Zool's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master gathers power. You have broken Zool's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master gathers power. You have broken Zool's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now, his master... You have broken Zool's hold! I serve that swine no longer! You have freed me from a cruel fate, but Zool is merely a puppet in a larger plan. Even now...
Well, we're up to 85 attempts and still no mount. Hopefully this doesn't take as long as some of my other multi-character farms have taken. This place is pretty time consuming when you do it on 13 characters. But right now it looks like I'll be back here next week and hope my luck is a little better. And in case you're wondering this week, my transmog is the Battlelord's Plate. This is a Legion Order Hall armor set. Each class that has an Order Hall in the Legion expansion has a Order Hall armor set. These are pretty easy to get nowadays, and if you're wondering, just go to your Order Hall in the Legion expansion. Find your Quartermaster, he will sell you each piece of armor, and when your cursor over the armor, it will say what the requirement is to open that piece of armor. So for instance, if you wanted the shoulders of the Warrior Quartermaster, you would have to get Nightfallen to Exalted. It is pretty easy to do nowadays, so if you decide to go after this, it's just a little bit of a time investment. But hey, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. You can click on subscribe. Thanks for coming by and watching it. I'm going to send a hi out to my best friend, and you all take care.